Hello and welcome to the program, The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. My name is Rachel David White. Well, it's a beautiful Thursday evening and a wonderful day to talk about the social issues that are bedvelling our dear country, Nigeria. Well, today promises to be interactive and exciting as well. So today we'll be taking a look at lots of reports, and of course the first one would be from the Senate. Now, don't forget that there had been a little fracas in the Senate between the Senate Chief Whip Ali Ndume and, of course, the Senator Godswill Akpabio as well. Well, in that regard, Senate Chief Whip Ali Ndume has provided insight into his decision to leave the Senate chamber during a plenary session on Tuesday. Well, Ndume's departure followed a clash with Senate President Godswill Akpabio during the session. He had attempted to withdraw the Senate's attention to draw the Senate's attention to what he perceived as violations of the standing orders of the Senate. Well, during the session, Senator Ndume cited procedural infringement, stating that they violated established parliamentary protocol. However, Senate President Akpabio ruled him out of order, claiming that the order cited by Ndume did not apply to the matter he was discussing. And Ndume then left the chamber in apparent frustration. He later clarified his reasons for leaving in an interview with, of course, BBC Hausa in Abuja, noting that the situation arose when Senator Kawu Somaila introduced a motion regarding the closure of the Nigeria-Niger border, which he claimed was actually urgent. And away from that, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, has assured Nigerians of sample and ample fuel supply with sufficiency of at least 30 days, despite the ongoing fuel scarcity and queues in the nation. And the state-owned oil company met the clarification in a statement released today. According to the statement, they said they assure all Nigerians that there is ample supply with sufficiency of at least 30 days. While NNPC said the scarcity is due to reduced depot loadout in Apapa, Lagos over a few days, but that the root cause has since been addressed. And they said the scarcity is actually due to reduced depot in Apapa, Lagos, which of course that has been identified as the root cause of the problem. But they have assured that there will be ample fuel supply. Of course, let's just believe them. And away from that, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has responded to a media report by a newspaper which claimed that INEC's credibility is sinking as 94% of contested posts awaits tribunal. Well, the electoral body met the response in a press release issued today. Well, INEC said that the report contains inaccurate figures, mix-ups, pre-election and post-election cases, has a skewed comparative perspective, and a headline that suggests that election petitions draw from the action or inaction of INEC. Well, INEC clarified that the 2023 elections were not conducted in 1,280 constituencies, including 782 state assembly seats. On the contrary, elections were conducted in 1,491 constituencies across the country. And the Commission also said it is not responsible for pre-election cases arising from the conduct of primary elections by political parties. And they said these are intra-party cases involving party members in which they joined the Commission and seek for reliefs binding on it. It also further stated that many litigants in Nigeria unfortunately file election petitions over the most improbable cases and later withdraw them, or they are dismissed by the tribunals. And the Commission said that out of 1,196 petitions filed so far, 712 were dismissed and 179 withdrawn. This means that the 891 cases are 74.4% the tribunals found no merit on the petitions and affirmed the result of the elections conducted by INEC themselves. Well, INEC has also said that the report analysis of the total number of petitions as if they were filed against the outcome of the elections in 94% of all the elective positions is, of course, a methodologically problematic and statistically illogical. That's their words. Well, the Commission also clarified that the grounds for challenging the outcome of an election as provided in the Section 134 of the Electoral Act 2022 are not limited to the conduct of elections by the Commission. And according to this release, it explained that an election may be questioned on the ground that the winner of the election was not qualified to contest the election or by virtue of his academic qualifications, age, etc. Many of the petitioners did not challenge the conduct of the elections by INEC, but the eligibility of candidates or their nominations by political parties. Under the law, INEC has no power to screen candidates. Similarly, only the courts can disqualify a candidate. Of course, according to the press release by INEC, they also compared the number of election petitions filed in the last 3 electoral cycles. In 2015, 663 cases were filed at the tribunals. 87, of course, that's 13.1% were nullified, and the Commission ordered to conduct a rerun in some polling units or entire constituencies in 2019. That's 807 petitions were filed, but elections were only rerun in 30. That's 3.71% constituencies. That's 3 senatorial districts, 13 federal constituencies, and 14 state constituencies. Now, as of Monday, 16th October 2023, out of 82 governorship election petitions, the electoral body said 72, that's 87.8%, were either dismissed or withdrawn by the petitioners. Now, for senatorial elections, they said 146 petitions were filed, out of which 100, that's a 68.5%, were dismissed or actually withdrawn. So for the House of Reps, 413 petitions were filed, and out of which 309, 74.81%, were dismissed or withdrawn, while for state houses of assembly, 550 petitions were actually filed, out of which 468, making 82.4%, were dismissed or withdrawn. In all of that, INEC concluded by stating that it is inappropriate to solely assess the credibility of INEC or the conduct of the 2023 general election on the number of petitions filed by litigants who, in any case, have a right to do so under the law. Well, I think this is INEC walking out of an allegation they feel they are wrongly accused on. And the major story we'll be looking at today is the Nigeria's debt profile. And of course, we'll also be looking at cost of governance, which we touched a little bit yesterday. And don't forget that the federal government has proposed 4.01 trillion naira, of course, to fund the 2024 budget. Now, Nigeria's current debt profile estimated at 87.4 trillion and prevailing forex scarcity, amongst others, are raising concerns that investors' confidence may be hurt amid shrinking forex inflows in the country. According to PwC's monthly report, Nigeria's economic outlook looks bleak unless the federal government and the central bank can boost the confidence of investors by focusing on policies that promote economic stability and encourage forex inflows to mitigate the potential negative impact. Well, the Debt Management Office, DMO, in September put Nigeria's total public debt at 87.38 trillion at the end of the second quarter of 2023. So this figure represents an increase of 75.29% or 37.53 trillion naira compared to 49.85 trillion naira recorded at the end of March 2023. This increase, analysts at PwC said, led to lowering of credit ratings and may further lead to increase in the cost of international funds, increase the demand pressure on forex to meet future forex debt service obligations as well. Well, the agency's monthly economic note revealed that the low credit ratings was evident in the decline in capital importations from $24 billion in 2018 to $5.3 billion in 2022, and also added that the increase in global central banks' policy rate may actually lead to capital relocation away from the country's financial market to other markets with more attractive views on investment and may reduce forex flows in the country to the economy. Now, it also noted that decline in Nigeria's MSCI index indicates that capital relocation to other economies and might extend a bit further. So it also revealed that remittances flows to low and middle income countries are expected to remain resilient but slow. Now, it says 1.4%. Of course, slow. It's going to be slow to $656 billion as against 2022, which was $647 billion, which represents growth of 1.4% by 2023 compared to the 8% growth in 2022. Meanwhile, Nigeria is rated 4th among the World Bank's top 10 International Development Association IDA borrowers. This was revealed in a World Bank fiscal year 2022 audited financial statement, which stated that Nigeria had risen to 4th place on the list with a $13 billion debt stock as of June 30, 2022. Despite maintaining 4th place, now Nigeria has accrued around $1.3 billion in debts in just 1 year, that's according to our report. Now, according to the World Bank audited financial statement for fiscal year 2023, Nigeria owed around $14.3 billion in IDA debt stock. As of June 30, 2023, it maintained its 4th position on the list. So this is just a breakdown to show you how far or how long and how large Nigeria's debt profile actually is. And then we are also told that Nigeria plans to borrow another $1.5 billion from World Bank. And we have also known that Nigeria is a country where we actually borrow to fund our budgets. So what does this hold for us? This is going to form the basis of our discussion today on the show. So just stay tuned. We'll go on a short break. When we come right back, the show continues. We're coming right back. Welcome back to the show. It's still the program, The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. And we're being joined virtually by our guests in the person of Dr. Ademola Bayonle. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It's a pleasure to join you once again.
Okay, Dr. Ademola is YPP's 2022 Guba candidate for Osun State. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, so welcome to the show once again. Well, today we'll be taking a look at Nigeria's debt profile. But before then, how are you doing?
Well, I'm here. We're all in the subsidy regime.
You know, I didn't want to ask you as a Nigerian how you doing because I know that whatever we're feeling right now, you only be getting reports of what's happening, but you're not feeling it the way we are feeling it.
I think I am feeling it the way most Nigerians are feeling it because I
Okay.
have families, very close families back in Nigeria. I have some other activities by NGO, some businesses also back in Nigeria.
Okay.
So everything you're feeling, it's the same way, is reflecting back on how I'm also feeling. So very comparable feeling. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so before I come to Nigeria's debt profile, I just want to I want to get your take on this because I mean you're a part of the elections, and whatever happens, you should also have something to say about it. That's talking about INEC's clarification. Well, the INEC had actually responded to a media report that was, put up by a news media, a newspaper actually, and it claimed that INEC's credibility was actually sinking as 94% of contested posts awaits tribunal. And now INEC has come out to say that, of course, among all the cases in court, some were dismissed and all of that. Some were on the grounds that the person was not fit enough to contest election or primaries at all, which that has nothing to do with INEC and all of that. But let's talk about the credibility of the elections once again, since it has popped up. I just want to know your take on this.
Well, I think the ball still stuck at the table of Heineck, actually. Uh, how 2022, 2023 elections uh, panned out. They are the body in charge of it. So they should enjoy the gain and also take or learn from the blames. It is always a competition when it comes to electioneering. We have about 18 political parties. So we are bound to have people who are disgruntled, who do not agree with any processes. Some parties even, or some candidates even look for technicalities, which is also very okay to do. So the fact that we have candidates or we have political parties presently in the petition stage or querying the processes, it's not a total reflection of how efficient or how bad INEC is. Or definitely, we think that there are places where they can improve. Screening candidates before election will actually help us with a lot of pre-election matters. Don't let it just be what's it called, garbage in, garbage out. I was part of the election, like you said, and what they require us to do is just submit our certificates. I'm not sure the internal process in making sure those certificates, for instance, are verified and make sure they are original and they are probably has we have submitted it. What they require us to do for the most part is swear an affidavit, and that's it before publishing the names. We still see Lagos State, even at the level of the presidency, a lot of issues concerning certificates, etc. So some of those pre-election matters, if INEC can probably do some due diligence on that side, it will be great. Also, even post-election or intra-election, during the election matters, the Beavers machine, the staffing, and some other processes. Of course, we will have a better process, but it does not negate the fact that people can still contest whatever result that we see.
Okay, yeah, let me move away from that. Let's discuss the main issue for today, cost of governance. Now, before we come into Nigeria's debt profile, I believe you joined me earlier, so I did a little summary and breakdown of how much Nigeria is actually owing, I mean, a huge sum of money. And despite all of this, we're still having issues with, you know, uh, um, over bloated cost of governance, talking about assigning a whooping sum of 130 million naira to acquire SUVs and bulletproof cars for lawmakers, talking about, you know, excessive spending and all of that in Nigeria.
Um, See, that's always been a problem with our political class, and I hope that one day, if not now, they understand the urgency or the importance in actually helping in stemming some of these high cost of governance. We Everybody is feeling the brunt of the subsidy removal, and these governments have said, "Oh, we're bringing or we're promising you a renewal hope." That renewal hope should be across board, political class, and also people in the grassroots. If people in the grassroots feeling the heat can also look at the political class and say, "Oh, they are in this wagon with us," maybe we will be able to. Everybody might trust this government. But if we see that our political class, our legislators, show up in brand new SUVs, having budgets running into billions of naira, showing up as if they don't even live in the country, looking at their convoys, looking at their what's their lifestyle, then it looks like lopsided. It looks like they're telling us that, okay, we don't have a lot of resources, but we see you living large. So there's kind of like disparity along that line, and it also just tell us that the hardship we're feeling is just one-sided. It's not even across board, and we should be questioning cost of governance along those levels too.
Well, Nigeria has been rated fourth among the World Bank top 10 International Development Association borrowers. Wow. And I mean, since last year till this year, Nigeria has still maintained the fourth position, borrowing to always, you know, fund projects. And sometimes Nigeria borrows to fund not capital projects, but borrows to, you know, fund cost of governance as well.
It's a very bad position to be, I must tell you, and I think that it speaks to the efficiency of the type of leadership we have. We cannot keep borrowing. While borrowing in itself is not a bad idea, but we have to be able to measure. We have to have
Okay,
measurable
I'm
impact.
sorry to cut you. Yeah, I agree with you that borrowing itself is not a bad idea. But when you borrow, what do you use the money you borrowed for? Are we not supposed to be borrowing to, you know, fund, you know, projects that will yield, you know, much money that we can know that, oh, we are going to use this money and service the debt. For example, let's say you want to start a business and then you go get a loan from a bank and they say, what do you want to do with it? A 200 naira, or yeah, let me start like that. A 200 naira loan and or 2 million naira loan, and you said you want to start a business, and then they give you the loan and you take the loan to go and buy a car, or you go to take the loan to go pay rents. For God's sake, where do you intend to get back, you know, the loan to pay back, especially?
And that is what I'm driving
Okay.
at. You see, it's not bad to borrow loan, but what are we using it for? A lot of projects are social projects. We see a bridge from one place to the other, even at state level. We see a state that can barely pay workers, but because they want to have what do they call this? Their project, a legacy project. They spend a chunk of money that the state does not have on bridges, on white elephant, that does not interpret to any economic advance with the state. And that's why I'm saying that is an inefficient way of borrowing. But you see, the major problem, why are we borrowing in the first place? It means that we do not have the resources. The problem is in our resources. We had a budget deficit of about 10 trillion in 2023. This year, our income, our IGR is about 9 or thereabout, and our budget about 20.1 trillion or something. So we had a budget deficit where we have to borrow to do that. And if we're having a 10 trillion IGR, even a lot of agencies in Nigeria have told us that we can do better. We are not generating as much as we should be generating. The efficiency in our revenue generation is very poor, and that's why we go ahead to borrow. Look at I just posted something on my timeline about JAMB. JAMB used to hold money. The government used to fund JAMB until we actually put in somebody who could bring in money for us. So there's a lot of government agency. I think we have more than 60 something of them who needs to help us generate money, who needs to be generating money instead of just consuming money.
Now,
And that is the problem we have.
not
Yeah.
have to do with, entrusting maybe an organization management in the proper hands, not having people that we get to probe, we get to investigate. Take, for example, we had a Central Bank of Nigeria governor, and we didn't trust his services enough, so we had to, arrest him, suspend him, put him under detention, and start probing an investigation. Same with the EFCC. I mean, what is happening now? I want to talk about the JAMB issue when we have, a section that is actually generating and remitting money. And you would hear, oh, there are excesses, and this is how much is remaining. Something that we barely see in Nigeria.
Exactly. And that's why I said that, you see, this government, the test of this new government is going to heavily rely on its efficiency. And one index that is going to measure that index is revenue generation. We've always stayed at the very 8 trillion, 10 trillion for the past years. Now we do not have the flood that's probably has dwindled some of our revenue in the past. We have reduced our bunkering, pipeline vandalism. We do not have economic downturn. I mean, there's Russia and all the rest of the war in Ukraine. The oil price has actually stabilized in the past couple of months and years. So the test of this governance will actually be how efficient they are in terms of, are they actually putting the right peg in the right hole? Do we have members of the cabinet in the agency, the directors of the departments and agencies who mean well for us? Because if we do not, again in 2024, we're going to go and borrow to fund our budget. I have good and bad news for you. Well, it's the same news. It just depends on how you interpret it. The budget of 26 trillion from 21 trillion is not that much of a fancy or a budget that will take us out of this gloom. It's definitely, it's almost the same. But what will make it stand out or make it a different budget is how it is spent, the efficiency behind it. And it starts from even the legislative arm of things. The people who are passing this budget now, because now it's still at the level of the bill, appropriation bill, it's probably not going to be passed till the first week of January, etc. Our legislators, are we sure that they are picking each of these agencies and doing the right thing they should be doing and consulting the way they should be consulting, bringing professionals in to scrutinize the spending and the incomes, the revenues of this agency? That is going to give us an efficient bill in the front end of it. Of course, definitely next year is when we're going to see the implementations and now see how the directors etc are spending it. So it's going to reflect on how our leaders are going to behave. Of course, this project is going to reflect on that. But well, I think we're still locked into that borrowing scheme for the next 1 year at least, because there's no the revenue of this Nigeria has not increased in the past year. With the 26 trillion budget, we'll still definitely have to borrow. I think we're actually borrowing 8 trillion from the numbers we have. Last year, debt servicing actually is 8 trillion. Last year, in the last budget, the debt servicing is about 6 trillion. In this new budget, it's going to be about 8 trillion, which is killing us.
Now,
so
we are having
debt,
debt servicing at 8 point something, and then we are having, the ones to fund capital project, I think at 6 point something or 5 point something. What do you say about that? Are we not supposed to, create enough money or procure enough, allocate enough money to fund capital projects rather than procure such money to service debts?
Well, there's some debts that you cannot run away from.
Of
I think
course.
most of the debts they actually we have is probably commercial debts. We can't even restructure them. We have gone to, I don't know if you know, a very popular debt service, is it debt service or money lending uh, agency or something in Nigeria called LACO. If you collect money from those kind of people, they said they will put tie out on your neck and parade you in the market.
No,
Those are the
they'll
type
send
of
your
debts that
pictures to people and saying all manner of things about you.
exactly. So those are the type of people that we have gone ahead to collect debts from, and so it might be difficult for us to restructure it. That's number one. Number two, it might also we have to pay it for us to also be in good standing for future occurrences. So it's not something we can escape, but it is increasing. In 2022, I think our debt went to about maybe 120 or 102 or thereabout $1 billion. From no, I think it went to 108 from 102, and it was from before then it was 90 something $1 billion. So it's kind of like increasing. We're borrowing more and more. But it's whatever it is. I hope that the efficiency side of it, what we are actually using that money to do, is not social projects like I've said. The capital we cannot boost. We can't do more that much about the capital. The current are recurrent. We're also stuck with recurrent. We have to pay salaries. We have to pay pensions. Those things must go if we don't want to crash the economy. That's actually the middle class population. So we're stuck with we're stuck with recurrent. We're stuck with debt. Whatever is remaining is what we're going to use on capital.
Okay.
Definitely. So it's
I'm
catch 22.
okay. As much as you know, the 26.01 trillion naira is not really broken down, you know, and the
Yes.
projects named. I would also like us to look at it, you know, in the future. But before then, there have been so many school of thoughts that during the former president's regime, President Muhammadu Buhari, that of course Nigeria's debt profile under the former administration actually, you know, skyrocketed. What do you have to say about this?
Well, people will argue that the pocket of infrastructural development we have seen is commensurate or comparable to money they have borrowed. While that might be true, there's also we can see that recently we heard former Governor Wike saying that the former FCT minister has stolen so much money, and I think it's taking him to court. So we
Okay.
see some of the pockets leaking in that area, and that is just one ministry out of many ministries that we have. So the money that we are borrowing, are they actually going into the right pocket?
I
We have,
mean, doctor, let me still go back there. I mean, under the
yeah.
past administration, there was, you know, some, would I say, according to reports and research, that under Buhari's regime, debt increased like, I think there was increase of 1 trillion naira in 3 months amid economic crisis.
So like, why do you have to borrow as a family? You have to borrow when the revenues are not coming in. That's literally the point. So if you're stuck and before you leave, you want to do white collar projects like the rail, you want to do airports, you want to do the bridge, and etc. You have to go and borrow. That is you are locked with that. There's nothing you can do. So borrowing under his administration, I will not. I will say it's two ways. We've seen some infrastructural development, definitely. In fact, I think he actually ranks high in terms of infrastructural development. I mean, the time of President Buhari. But again, aside those infrastructural development that we have seen, we've also seen that there are leakages, heavy leakages. Even INEC spent about 355 billion in the last election. Like I said, I mentioned the FCT minister. We are still yet to hear about the aviation sector, what's happened in the aviation sector, the caricature that we saw with the airplane, different sectors like that. If you also notice, I think we had the flood. We had so much issues with Boko Haram also during his administration. So there were so many leakages, which I think have now stabilized. And hopefully, this new administration, it will be a very significant departure. Also, think about it. We were paying for subsidy during the times of President Muhammad Buhari. That is gone now. We don't have about 6 trillion or thereabouts was budgeted for subsidy at different time. Now we don't have fuel subsidy again. That is out of our recurrent budgets. That probably can be moved if we don't use to buy rice or share it around the government, which I think is what they're doing right now, and the conditional cash transfer, which is also a waste of time that they're doing right now. If we don't waste money like that, I think we can actually head into some meaningful development.
Well, you've dragged me back to something, talking about conditional cash transfer, palliatives, and all of that. Something that looks not feasible, according to some people. I mean, there are some people that are of the school of thoughts that instead of, spending money to send some custard or, I'm sorry, maybe some pearls or cups of rice to people, it's better to do a project that will eradicate poverty, because trust me, I think some of the persons who actually got those cups of rice may have finished it weeks ago and are hungry again. And of course, things are still the same. Nothing has changed.
Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigeria. Some of those subsidies and some of those interventions are not peculiar to Nigeria. A lot of countries, they actually do it. Even in the United States, they do it. They give people different types of materials.
So where are we not doing right in terms of this? Now, let me give you a little report. I'm still working on, investigating the palliatives issue. So I'm going to really talk about this when I have my facts ready. But according to few reports, palliatives were given to, here in Akwa Ibom State, for example, the governor of Akwa Ibom State made a statement. I have given palliatives that the government had given, and I've had extra money. You should make sure it gets to every person, whether indigent or non-indigent, as long as the person is staying in Nigeria and is a Nigerian, make sure that these palliatives are enough for everyone. And then I get some complaints where people say, oh, please, could you help? I haven't got mine. I haven't got mine. And then you get to ask the people involved, and you hear that it was shared according to families. And I keep asking a question. I keep making one example. So if you have a northerner who is staying here in Akwa Ibom State, not just peculiar to Akwa Ibom, who is staying somewhere else, and then he has no family head there, what happens to him or her?
Well, that's a really good question. But you see, the answer is embedded in how you've actually what you said. The governor said, he said you should share. He has forgotten that he's also he's the leader of the state, and he should actually be saying we will share. You see, people need to insert themselves in the practical part of governance, not just sit down and instruct people. We have seen it across board. Even in Kwara State, there was a man who brought out a bag of rice that's not even up to a bag, probably some kilograms or something less than a regular bag, and said, I'm supposed to share this among 125 communities or houses. What am I supposed to do about it? To give them one grain. And it's because at the level of the governorship or at the level of the leadership of the state, they just give out commands. That bag might be enough. In fact, I think they were giving about 170 bags, I think, in Osun State. I think per local government was thereabouts. 170 bags is actually a lot. But if you don't monitor and if you don't create a system where these things will actually reach the people in the grassroots, is a waste. And that's the same thing with the conditional cash transfer. In developed countries, nobody is going to give you 250,000 or something and say, do whatever you want to do with 25,000 or whatever they are doing it. They can be in terms of credit, in terms of in points. and tell them, okay, so we are going to share all this 25,000 points to you, but you can only use it to buy food because that's a point of this subsidy removal. So if you go to like places where you can cash those points, we will be sure that you're using it to buy food. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And you can distribute it among everybody and say, okay, this card, it is not, you cannot withdraw it over the ATM. It is not money for your pocket to buy smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol or do whatever. It is solely for food. So if you don't use it for food, you will forfeit it. And make sure there are points within the communities where people can go and cash and go and get their food. It is not Herculean at all. It is just a will. It is just the will to do it. Our politicians are not stupid people. It's just that do they actually have the will to do that? And what is the importance? So you think about it. If I give you 25,000 for 6 months, is that going to eradicate poverty? Is that a sustainable plan to eradicate poverty? Ensure maybe it's a bridge. They might say it's a bridge. We're bringing in the CNG vehicles. We're bringing some other forms of stuffs and everything, but it is nothing. And this is how you know it is even a bad idea. When the people are saying that don't give us money, you know it's a bad idea. They are saying, in fact, develop the community, don't
Of
even share the
course.
money. You understand? That is a major sign that what you are doing is
It's
and
not
you're spending
appreciable.
trillions of naira. Yeah, yeah. As a government, because you are not, it is not your money you're spending. You are spending the commonwealth of the people. You're spending taxpayers' money. You should want to listen to people. And whatever you're doing, it should not be just for there should be a sustainability to it. There should be something that will help another thing to it. If you get what I'm saying, this money is not going to help anything. It's going to come, and we should have learned from trader money, for instance. What happened? Where is trader money today? What happened to it? All the intervention funds that we have done, where are they today? Now,
Let me chip in something there. Okay, but just before then, I'd like to remind the people that this program is interactive and they can be a part of the show by calling the phone number displayed on the TV screen. Send us a WhatsApp, a text message, or put a call across to us. Be part of the show. What do you think about Nigeria's attitude of borrowing to fund projects and, of course, borrowing to service debt as well? Now, Doctor, concerning what you talked about, okay, I think talking about, what did you say last? I'm sorry.
No, I was talking about how learning from previous interventions and actions like the trader money,
Okay, yeah. So,
like
I
all
wanted to say
intervention.
I wanted to say something about that. Now, one thing that is common in Nigeria is when we have, for example, the conditional cash transfer. Now, we now talk about National Social Register, how to get to the most vulnerable. Well, let's just hope that things are going to change this time around. I mean, Better I Do is the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation is on her heels working. You see
I
people.
forgot she's also on your side, right?
Okay, so you see people, what happens? Call their family members, call their in-laws family, call their villagers, tell them, oh, give me these details, pretend to be this, pretend to be this. Okay, I want you to fill this form. Say you are a trader, you're looking for money to start up so and so thing. And then the next thing, this money was supposed to get to the most vulnerable. In fact, out of 1,000 people, 3 or 5 are the most vulnerable. That's if they are most or they are just vulnerable. Now, the rest are family members, friends, colleagues, families, in-laws of whoever is handling the project. And then these cash transfers, trader money or whatever, now gets into their account. Do you think that if this money actually got to these traders and the most vulnerable and they started a business with that, they wouldn't have paid back? Now, when it gets into these people's hands, oh, government has sent, have you seen the alert? Yes, I've seen. I've sent 30,000, 10,000. They say it's repayable, and then in the next 20 years, they don't pay it back. Even the government would not love to, keep up with that again. Now, who are the government? Are they not supposed to pass through a person who is there to drive this car. I'm giving you this fuel to use and drive this car, and you're using this fuel to share to your family members. So that's what happens when we talk about trader money. Except this is going to be sorted out, then we'll still have this problem.
It's also not the fault of the people in the community. You see, the people in community also know that the leaders that are coming to share, they have told them to go and bring names of their family members. They have their hand in the cookie jar. They are also not sincere people. And it's kind of like a quagmire at the local level. And the issue why that is happening is because we don't have a lot of leaders that actually leave their air condition and go into this community and see the impact and the efficiency of the programs that they are bringing forth. What's the feedback from people? Are people just complaining because they are complaining, or it's actually true that some of these impacts do not percolate into the grassroots? So you see, when you have, for instance, let me give you an example of Olubunmi Ojo, the new minister for internal affairs, what he has done in the couple of few months that he has been in office. And I can tell you for free that I don't think that he has spent anything extra. He has just been able to improve the processes of passport application.
Of course, yeah.
And he said within the last 2 or 3 months, he's been able to wipe off a backlog of about 300,000 passports. Did he, in the last 3 months, did he bring in a new expatriate? Did he change something very like Nigeria has never seen before? Did he import one machine that people have? No, he probably just stood firm and said, this must work. And we saw it on national TV, talking to the staff of the Nigerian immigration, that it is not a right, it's not a privilege for Nigerians to have passport. It is a right. This must work. So if we have very firm, assertive leadership that are to the T, this is what the government said this will be. Tell me, if you're giving people trader money, I thought that was a very good avenue for Nigeria to set up maybe industrial banks at the grassroots or economic banks at the grassroots, where people will actually go to the bank to pick those money up. They will not be picking it up from individual, from their party members or from any. They will go to the bank, and before they get this money from the bank, they will probably have collaterals, have somebody, the traceable address, and etc. I always say something. When we have a problem, when you see one problem, it does not mean that that problem will not come back again. So when you see a problem, make sure that you solve it. Don't navigate it. Because if we have solved trader money and we have created a good structure for trader money, for instance, we would have used that same structure for this
the conditional cash transfer. Now, let me just add something for you to address before we wrap it up, because we are running out of time. We just have 3 minutes. Now, a political economist, Dr. Chukwuma Okoli, has said that of course, Nigeria's worsening debt profile is caused by political interest and corruption. What do you have to say about that?
No, I think that's all definitely not far away from the truth. If we're borrowing, like I said, we're borrowing because we don't have enough revenue. There are so many areas where revenues should be coming from. For instance, our oil revenue part of it. We've talked about the racket going on in the oil part of stuff. Our major revenue is coming from oil. Even our non-oil revenue side of things, from mineral resources, from our VAT, from our dividends from the Bank of Industries and the NLLGs and all the rest of it. So how are the revenues? People have said it, that we actually have, instead of the 10 trillion that we're claiming to have in IGR, we have today the capability to generate more than 30 trillion in revenue. And if we have that revenue, why do we need to borrow? We do not need to borrow. We can even pay off some of our debt. So, but we are not going to move that revenue with that margin because there's so much corruption. There's so much party in government. So there's a corruption part of this our debt issue. The other side is also efficiency. You see, when you are using money you're borrowing for social projects, which do not give any economic advantage to the country. Like, for instance, of course, I'm sure you know the transfer that they wanted to do before, it was World Bank loan. I don't know if this conditional transfer, maybe it's the same or something. It was from a World Bank loan, which you have to pay back. So if you are borrowing loan to do conditional cash transfer, sir, how do you intend to get that money back?
Of
It
course,
is one of
from
the most
hungry people.
critical. Exactly. Who are not going to pay back?
Now, what are the
It is
policies
one
we
of
even have on ground to make sure that these people probably go to the markets and are able to sell and pay back and still get profits to survive another day? All right, sir.
exactly.
I think I'm just taking our time now. The conversation, I would love to have it longer than this, but we have just 1 minute to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Dr. Ademola Bayonle.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Okay, back to the people. We've been talking to Dr. Ademola Bayonle, the 2022 YPP Guber candidate for Osun State. Well, coming back to you, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's been an amazing one. Well, don't forget to join us and also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all our social media handles. You can find that on our website at SpectrumTVLive.ng. And also, you can follow me on X at RECHWHYTE, Rach White, all as one word. Catch you again next week. This is the final edition for this week. I am Rachel David White. Good evening.